Ring 4 in Saudi Arabia has been concluded, and with a stacked 4 fights with 4 championship belts on the line, stacked main card. We are going to get this reaction and recap of it. I mean, tantalizing fights throughout the entirety of it. A lot of savagery, a lot of blood, a lot of narratives, and a lot of things that were being pushed that need to be addressed 100%. And that's something that we will get done in this video. And on the first fight on this main card, we got Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, and it was literally rock'em sock'em robots. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Definitely fight of the night for sure. Out of all the fights on this card, these guys went through hell and back, and that's something that I definitely did expect. I did expect, though, Abdullah Mason to be able to get a finish later in the fight. He damn near did pull it off in that 10th round. Clearly, the speed advantage, the sharper punches, the accuracy was on Abdullah Mason's side, but Sam Noakes really made it into his own fight. He bring in the physicality, is a tough dude. Both of these guys are very tough. A war of attrition for both of these guys. I mean, they were going back and forth. Really, though, Abdullah Mason was getting the better of the majority of the work against Sam Noakes. Noakes did win some rounds, have some good moments. He landed some nice consecutive right hands that have Abdullah Mason's head snap back, some good body work, some good countering and good timing by Sam Noakes. I really did like to be able to see that out of him. There was no quit. There's a lot of grit and a lot of determination. He kept on moving forward. He didn't want to be able to just get in there and really falter and fold under the pressure, that being against a guy like Abdullah Mason. Never lost in his career, so he doesn't know how to be able to lose. So he proved and showed that a lot throughout the entirety of this fight. But the body work by Abdullah Mason was just too much to be able to will him forward. One thing that I do want to give a lot of credit to Abdullah Mason, though, and to Sam Noakes as well, but specifically more to Abdullah Mason, is that him to be able to keep having that dynamic type of power shots and still have that get off and that explosivity throughout 12 rounds, just throwing the heavy hard shots that he was throwing to the body, to the head. I got to give that man credit. That man's gas tank is absolutely on 100. He's ready and prepped for any and everything that is going to go down. And with that happening, and with Abdullah Mason for sure being up on cards, it was close throughout the entirety of the fight. I think Sam Noakes definitely had, again, moments where he was starting to be able to time Abdullah Mason, really string Mason into the fight that he wanted to be able to bring into. Obviously, if it was a boxing technical type of matchup, he was going to be able to lose that, and he quickly learned that early on in the early rounds and drag him on to the same type of fight that Noakes wanted to be able to implement for his game style, for him to be able to win this one. And even with that happening, Abdullah Mason still came out on top on that one. That right hook to the body shots just in general, and as well as that jab when he actually wanted to be able to stick forward to with that, was working overtime. So Abdullah Mason comes out on top on this one in a decision victory, back and forth. Great experience for Abdullah Mason, for him in his career moving on forward, and more for him in the future. And now moving up the card, we got Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus, I believe this guy's name is Daniel Martinez. I believe that's his first name. And this was over before it even started. Jesse Bam Rodriguez was a huge odds-on favorite on this one. And it was just apparent from the beginning. I'm going to be very honest with you. I fell asleep watching this fight. Not because it was boring, but just Jesse Bam Rodriguez was just running around this guy Martinez like it wasn't nothing. And he was walking through him like it wasn't nothing. Outboxing him, outclassing him, out everything him. Martinez didn't have a pot to piss in. He had nowhere and nothing to be able to retort to Jesse Bam Rodriguez that could have gotten Bam Rodriguez respect or even attention throughout the entirety of this fight. And Bam Rodriguez, while it was getting later throughout the entirety of the fight, I was just thinking, like, man, just get this over with. You're dominating this guy every which way that you want to be able to do so. Just get this guy out of here. And he finally does. He finds a nice counter left hand right on the button against Martinez that drops him and ends the fight. And really, to go on to what the commentary was talking about in this fight, while Jesse Bam Rodriguez was just dominating it, you don't got to get into the X's and O's. You already know what the footwork, the jab, everything, the combination. I mean, it was everything. It really was everything. Martinez didn't have an answer. He didn't even have the playbook. He didn't even take a pretest. He didn't even study for this quiz. He just got outworked. And finally, with Rodriguez getting the job done, and like I said earlier with the commentary, talking about the future fights, hopefully for him, he's gone through this division. He's just looking for that IBF championship title belt to be able to claim undisputed in this division. But definitely, I want to see him in the big fights. I want to see him against Inoue. He talked about him having the fight with Nakatani already certified, but it fell through. I want to see that. That's what I want to see. I want to see Inoue and Nakatani get into it, and then eventually I want to see Jesse Bam Rodriguez get into the fold of those big fights. Those are the three big fighters in the lower weight divisions that I want to be able to see match up with each other to really see who is the true king in the lower weight classes between all those three fantastic fighters that are really like pound for pound guys, especially Bam and Inoue. They're up there, but Nakatani obviously is knocking on the door and making his way towards there with that big matchup that he's obviously has certified for himself in the future in line, that being an Inoue. But with Jesse Bam being a little bit lighter, he has to make his way up towards that division to be able to certify himself in there. But Jesse Bam Rodriguez is domination throughout. And the fight that I got wrong, the only fight that I got on this card wrong, Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. And boy, did I did not see this happen or thought that this was going to happen whatsoever. Really, from the onset, you seen that Devin Haney was not on his bike as much. He wasn't. And you kind of saw telltale signs that this was not going to be a good night for Brian Norman Jr. when Devin Haney clipped him with a nice little check left hook right on the button. It hurt. It wobbled. It stunned Brian Norman Jr. Had him befuddled out there, and he was like, "God damn, I didn't even know Devin Haney could be able to hit like this." And with Devin Haney filling out his frame, actually being in the right weight class for himself, and not draining himself and draining his power as well, he looked good. I did think that this fight was a lot closer than a lot of other people. And I did think that Brian Norman Jr. did come back well later in this fight. But in the first round, you can see, like I said, you see the telltale sign of that check left hook wobbling, that being Brian Norman Jr. And then also as well then in the second round, you got Devin Haney landing a nice left hook that wobbles him again, another check flick hook, and then a right hand through the guard, just dropping Brian Norman Jr. and really stunning him, damn near getting out of there and getting finished in that second round if he didn't want to be able to at least throw any more shots that he just did, less than what he did while he was getting poured on with offense by Devin Haney Jr. Or Devin Haney, not Devin Haney, not he's not a junior. But Devin Haney, man, I was really surprised. Really surprised. But then after that, after he got the knockdown, I feel like he kind of certified himself as the winner. And he kind of just took it home. I mean, he won by decision, got the job done. The jab was working overtime. The jab was money by Devin Haney. Devin Haney with the power, with the flick, the jab was just there, and it was home every single time. I overestimated or overrated Brian Norman Jr. I did see a lot of skill and talent out of him, and obviously it did show and display that the IQ, the experience, the talent level fighters that they obviously have gone against each other is there's a great discrepancy. Haney obviously has fought the way better fighters that Norman has, and this is the first big main stage for Norman for him in this type of arena and this type of aspect for his career to be able to move on forward. And obviously with the performance before of Haney having that, really just dreadful showing out against Ramirez, I thought that he was probably going to get that same guy again. And since he did, he probably thought that he was just going to run him down and get him out of there. And with Haney standing his ground, trading, and getting the better of Norman, that really shell shocked him really badly. But after that, like I said, Devin Haney kind of coasted. He used his jab, he used his movement. Norman tried to be able to get his offense. He was being a lot more explosive. He closed the distance and tried to be able to land harder shots or use more powerful shots against Devin Haney. But Haney really smothered his offense. He really got into his guard. He really had Norman not fighting the fight that he wanted to be able to fight after he already got dropped. And while the jab was just working overtime against Norman Jr., I mean, Norman Jr., his head movement was just non-existent. I mean, brother, you got to get your head off the center line at all times, and it was just there to be able to get tagged, and that's why you kept getting rocked over and over. So hopefully this is a lesson learned for Brian Norman Jr., for him to be able to implement better defense for sure. That's something that he really needs to be able to work on. His defense, there's leaks, there's holes. Haney exposed that. And while the fight ended up being a lot closer because Norman was starting to press the pace, Norman started to be able to get more in a better offensive groove, and he started to be able to win some rounds. And Haney was a little bit, uh, just lackluster, just letting rounds go and letting things happen. But he was a clear winner on this one. I think it was close. I think one of the scorecards that I had in 114, 113 was probably something that I would rather agree with or tend to lean more towards. While Haney did come out on top on this one, they definitely want to be able to rebook that rematch with him and Ryan Garcia 100% now that Ryan Garcia is going to get that matchup against Mario Barrios for a championship belt. Obviously, they're trying to look for that unification bout. So, yeah, Devin Haney gets the job done over Brian Norman Jr. Disappointing. Very disappointing by Brian Norman Jr. But this will probably be a very good lesson for him in his career moving on forward and great experience as well. Now, hopefully, we can be able to see him get matched up against other better fighters as well. And hopefully he's on a trajectory similar likely to David Morrell, where Morrell kind of looked kind of shaky in his last matchup, but he did turn out to win. But he got very high hopes and went way too close to the sun against David Benavidez. And speaking of David Benavidez in the main event, and we got David Benavidez absolutely bludgeoning and picking apart Anthony Yarde. While I thought this contest was going to be a little bit more competitive, Yarde had his moments. He landed some nice power shots. But similarly like to what Anthony Yarde experienced in the Sergey Kovalev matchup, his cardio, his gas tank is just not that good in terms of the top tier talent. He got drained. He got drowned. He got overwhelmed. And David Benavidez, man, he's just one of those dudes that once they got on a roll, and usually he's always on a roll, it's just hard to be able to stop it. He's like an avalanche, man. He's like those riptide waves that just continuously bring you deeper and deeper into the water, and there's not much that you can be able to do. And eventually, the more and more you start to be able to fight back, the more it's going to drown you and sink you deeper into the water. And that's what David Benavidez does, and that's what he's great at doing, bringing in that pressure, staying in your face, being the aggressor, asserting himself as the dominant fighter, having Anthony Yarde all along the ropes early on this fight, and just bludgeoning him with fast combinations, the hand speed, and just the overall type of shots that David Benavidez just consistently throws, just hard with almost every single shot. I mean, damn, what is there for you to be able to do? And while at first I did predict in my prediction video that David Benavidez was probably going to win by decision, I then later changed it to him getting a knockout against Anthony Yarde because I did see them exchanging a lot more, getting into a lot of heated exchanges, really just going for broke against both of these guys. And eventually I did think that David Benavidez was going to get a stoppage around like the 9th round. He finished it in the 7th round. Again, man, David Benavidez, he just ran through him. He just ran through him, having that sequence along the ropes towards the end of the fight where he just throws this left hook that really has Anthony Yarde out on his feet, for being quite honest. He's out on his feet. There's not much to be able to talk about. The dude was there. He was stunned, and if David Benavidez threw even more shots, he probably would have left Anthony Yarde with really bad CTE. He already probably has bad CTE, but even worse CTE off than what he has. I mean, David Benavidez, man, there's not much really to be breaking down in terms of X's and O's. This was just in the phone booth, trading hard shots, getting in there, and David Benavidez outlasted him. His gas tank is insane. The dude could go 15 rounds easy and throwing hard the way that he throws, even though, yes, there is times that his defense is lacking and he's there to be able to get hit. He has a good chin. Took a lot of good shots against Anthony Yarde pretty well, and getting the job done very easily against, other competition that he's gone against beforehand, against Voshchik where he took him 12 rounds and he was throwing hard in that one as well. Morrell where he got wobbled and dropped a few times, and or not a few times, but a couple of times, and it took him all 12 rounds against a guy that was on the first big main stage of his career. And now getting a finish over Anthony Yarde, I think this is the best performance of him in his light heavyweight career. That being for David Benavidez. And now he's talking about going into cruiserweight and going against Gilberto Zuto Ramirez. And unlike Canelo, I think that this is a good thing for David Benavidez, for him to be able to go up to cruiserweight, Get in the rematch, Mexico versus Mexico on Mexican Independence Day. Zudo is another big name. He's not the most powerful puncher, even though he is a cruiserweight. He doesn't pack that kind of a crazy punch that usually most cruiserweights do. But with this happening and with this opportunity being brought forth for David Benavidez, him coming back in May around that Cinco de Mayo, big Mexican Independence Day fights for things that are usually going on. I mean, this is awesome. I think this is legacy defining for himself. I mean, going from 168, then going to 175, being a two-time division champion or two-division champion, and now going to cruiserweight, trying to defy yourself as a three-division weight champion, and then you really start opening doors up for a lot of other opportunities for yourself as well. You could be able to go back down to light heavyweight, even though I don't know if that's the greatest thing if you want to be able to go up to cruiserweight and then fluctuate between there and light heavyweight. I think cruiserweight, the max weight that you can be there is like 200 or 205, and for light heavyweight it's 175. So that's a big discrepancy. That's 30 pounds. It's a lot of weight. But when you're searching for greatness, you get the job done. And David Benavidez is obviously one of the greatest boxers, pound for pound, in the game right now as well. Everything right now is just names, legacy, stacking your resume, building your own resume, not worrying about, obviously the Canelo fight that he's been trying to be able to get at for so many years. And obviously, I don't think that's ever going to be able to happen as of right now, if we're being quite honest, with Canelo looking for the rematch against Crawford, and obviously, as I said earlier, with Benavidez versus Ramirez for next year. But again, like I said earlier, this brings a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors. With the Bivol and Beterbiev, with the fight for Beterbiev, that he was supposed to be on this card against Nicholson, falling through. They're probably going to do the trilogy between Bivol and Beterbiev, and whoever comes out on top of that, you could possibly put in Benavidez in there, because he's already obviously carrying two title belts in that division, and you're going against the lineal undisputed champion, that being either Bivol or Beterbiev, who's probably going to be matched up in that trilogy matchup, whoever comes out on top on that. And as well, if Benavidez does get rid of Ramirez very easily and gets the job done, you're looking at him versus Jai Opetaia, which is an absolutely insane, a banger of a matchup to be able to see. Obviously, the only other opponent in that cruiserweight division for Opetaia is Gilberto Zuto Ramirez. That hasn't happened at all. And now with Ramirez not going to Opetaia even now and going against a guy that's coming up in weight, that being Benavidez, whoever is on top on that one really is looking forward to getting Opetaia next, because he definitely needs his to be able to unify that cruiserweight division. And Opetaia is an absolute, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I probably would favor him against Benavidez or Ramirez, whoever comes out on top on that matchup. But this is the recap and review. Obviously, like this video. If you like this video, comment your opinions on what you think about this card. This card was really good, man. It was really good. I don't think it was amazing. I'd probably give it a 8 out of 10. It was good. It was good. Comment your opinions about what you thought about this card. Subscribe to this channel if you're an absolute huge boxing fan, because I love you, you love me, we need each other for the entirety and eternity of our lives. And thank you guys again for watching again. And peace.